All right, guys, welcome back. So, tonight we're going to talk about a question that we particularly get asked a lot from those that are either new starting a church security team or they're just starting from scratch. Um, and before they start, this is the question they typically ask. And so, the question tonight is church security teams, should they be wearing plain clothes or should we have shirts made? Now, I don't really believe that there's a right or a wrong answer to this. I believe there's pros and cons to each. And typically, what we like to see somewhere along the way is that you're integrating the two. Um, but there's some more important elements on your attire that you might want to consider. Okay. Identifiers are very important. So, like a lanyard with your picture on it would be one of those things that are important to have. No matter if you're running plain clothes or you got shirts made for your team. And now, for smaller teams, it might not be as beneficial in the beginning to go out and spend money on shirts. But if you can swing it, do that. And here's why: the benefits of having your security shirts made, and they don't have to be nothing fancy. I mean, there's a lot of churches that their churches don't even say security. It's just like a black or a red, like polo shirt that has the church logo on it. So it really doesn't have to say church security. Some guys have, the bright shirts that say security on the back, or black shirts that say security on the back. Uh, so you can mix that up however you want. I know for the team that I'm on, we have our black shirts. They have the logos, and then our Leonards with our pictures have our names, and it gives our position, our security position um, at the church, and that has worked for us very well. And we want the identifiers on a Leonard for people to be able to identify us. And if law enforcement needs to come in, we just want them to go to the people that they need to go to. Um, but the benefits of having your identifiable shirt is, a lot of times in security, someone's going to need something at some point in time, whether it's a medical emergency or an allergic reaction or even a violent situation, whatever the case may be. You don't want someone having to utilize valuable time to try to find the right person when they can just go straight to the security and say, hey, we have this safety issue or this security issue going on. Can you help? And then typically the guys that are on security carry radios, and so they're able to radio or signal um, for help, or at least relay the message. And so that is the benefit of having guys with security shirts. All right. And of course, the lanyards could act as that too. So there's no right or wrong. Now there's guys out there that, and their opinion is, well, then you become the target for the bad guy. Well, if you're carrying a gun and they're identifying as security, um, typically you are a visual deterrent. And so, sure, you can use that as an excuse, but that's not really accurate. Could you become the target? Yeah, but more times than not, you're the deterrent. Okay, and the way criminals are moving right now, it's very important to understand that you need that visual deterrent on your side. Okay. It doesn't mean that, every guy on security has to wear those. There's churches mix it up differently across the board. Like maybe they put one guy in a shirt and the rest of the team are in plain clothes. And, of course, they rotate this out. Maybe there's two or three guys that are wearing the security shirts and, the other guys are wearing plain clothes and they sit in the sanctuary or help in the hallways or whatever they might be to blend in with the environment. And so the benefits of the shirts, again, are you're easy to find for someone that might need you. You're easy to identify with law enforcement if they come in, and you're a visual deterrent for anyone looking to do harm. Criminals do surveillance. So, and even non-criminals, but hate groups, they will do the same thing. And so if they see that there's a security presence, they're more less likely not to attack than they are to attack. And if you're worried about the attack happening to you, well, then you just got to up your game. All right. It's, you don't have to be a ninja, but you got to be better than your adversary. Right. And so that's pretty common sense. Now, on the other hand, we have the plain clothes, and there's pros and cons to that as well in a security standpoint. That, from what we find this predominantly is in smaller churches, they can't see the benefit of having guys in plain clothes. And there's a few different benefits. One, you're not a visual deterrent, but you're able to do things kind of covertly, like sit in hallways or the cafeterias or wherever they get coffee and things like that, and you're able to hear more. Okay, so if there was a bad guy in the church, right, he's probably not going to say things to his buddy or do certain actions when he sees the guy wearing the shirt, but he might present some things that might stand out to the guy not wearing those shirts. And so you have another layer of security with your guys that are just in plain clothes. Should they wear lanyards? Well, my recommendation is no, they shouldn't. If you're integrating the two. If your guys are standalone wearing plain clothes, then yes, they should have a lanyard just for the sole purpose. If someone needs to identify with security for whatever situation, they can still go to that person and they're not mistaking you as just some normal Sunday morning congregant, right? Now, in smaller churches, this typically doesn't work like that because there's the same people that come all the time and everybody knows everybody. So that may not be a problem or an issue for you. But if you have people that, you know, don't come all the time and you're seeing irregular people throughout the weeks and months, that might be a good thing to adopt. The other thing is the element of surprise. Maybe your church is got a hate group that comes in or an active shooter or whoever it might be, and they want to bypass the guys wearing the shirts and go completely away from those guys, and they don't understand or realize that you have guys in plain clothes working covertly. Now you become an element of surprise to whatever that attack might be, right? And so here's our rule of thumb. um, in anywhere outside of the sanctuary, anywhere outside of the service area, that's where your security in the shirts should be. And then what we like to do is put your guys that are in plain clothes, we like to put them in the sanctuary. So they get a little bit less equipment. They don't get radios as much or radios for everybody, but all the guys on duty that weekend, they get the radios, the lanyards, and the shirts. The guys in plain clothes, you get with whatever equipment you walk in the door with, and that's it. And then if you have to uh, intervene, like let's say a disturbance, you're the guy in plain clothes, you're in the sanctuary. Okay, you send someone out to get your guy in security. They do the removing, and you just kind of help coach the bystanders on what to do at that point, right? And so you really have to learn how to make this work between your teams. All right, you have to understand that both are going to have different elements, both are going to have different areas and different scopes. Because someone that approaches, let's say, a disturbance, for that matter, if they see a security presence and a security uniform, they know that that is security. If your guys in the sanctuary try to intervene in a disturbance and there's no way to identify that, you could end up with bigger problems than you want, such as the individual causing the disturbance might think that it's just another congregant, holds no authority over the church, and now it goes into a escalated situation. So you want to be careful on how you adopt your ideas. But like again, what we like to see is the combination of the two, because they're both going to have two different scopes, and whether we escalate or de-escalate a situation, or how we can get information to our teams accordingly. And see, the guy in the sanctuary that's not wearing plain clothes, his objective could be different if, let's say, there's a medical emergency inside the sanctuary. See, now he doesn't need the black shirt or the lanyard. He could just, as a security guy, say, "Hey, I'm on the church security team. I'm CPR and AED trained. Is it okay if I help you?" Or if the person isn't responding, he can just go ahead and go to work, right? So there are pros and there are cons, and that's the best way that we can relay that to you in this short amount of time. But ultimately, if you decide to adopt both ideas or stick to one, you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And in your trainings in your church, you will begin to see where the need is for these things. Okay. Um, some guys try to use their security guys as ushers that are in plain clothes, and that doesn't always work all the time. Right. And so we really want to keep our focus in security, and we want to leave the ushers to do their thing. Our job is to be watching for threats and protecting people. And so what we find is the guys that are out in doing security are performing that. Make sure they're on the outer layers, and the guys that are wearing plain clothes are in the inner layers. Another thing that you could do, or that this works really well with, if the pastors know who your security team is, anytime, like in your policy and procedures, I'm sure you guys have all got active shooter, um, kind of a policy and procedure for that. Well, it would be the inside guys that when they hear that the sound of gunfire, they would be the guys that would grab your pastor or the people that they're going to grab and take them to what would be called the safe room, right? And so that takes off the table the worry and the all the things with the guys that are wearing the security shirts, right? Because now they have their own separate tasks. Some churches have personal security for this, but most smaller churches don't hold personal security. They have the inside guys and the outside guys, and so that's how we like to layer our securities when we're teaching churches how to operate in their security uh, jobs and positions. And then, of course, again, guys, you will learn a lot just by doing your own trainings, especially if you have to work with law enforcement or EMS providers on any level. One of the worst things that could happen is you need EMS there and they're trying to find somebody to talk to, or somebody knows what's going on, and they get bombarded by all these people. When we're wearing our security shirts, they know exactly who to go to and where to go. And so it makes it easy to identify, not just with law enforcement, but EMS providers as well. So we hope this short video helps on making the decision between plain clothes and shirts. But again, if you're not working with budgets and the staff is unwilling to get a few shirts, then you have to work with what you got. And lanyards are a very good thing to have too. Just make sure that they identify who you are and the position that you hold. Those should be a part of your attire. And again, as you guys work through this, um, make sure you write them down for your policy and procedures. Okay, you'll learn a lot by doing this, and it'll be good to add to your team, and it'll ensure that you have some kind of organization to your teams. Hope it helps. Email us if you have any questions or comment below. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you on the next one. God bless, guys.